Gary, before the game you mentioned that when you look at this Wolves team, obviously they're not exactly primed to perhaps challenge the big boys in the league. But at the same time, you also said that there are probably 4 or 5 other teams that are worse equipped than them in the league that could potentially struggle a bit more. Forget about the results today, just purely based on what you observed on the pitch, especially in that first half, do you reckon that they've got more than enough tools in there to be able to survive in the Premier League this season, to be able to finish in a respectable position?
They've got a lot of work to do, but yes. But I think you have to look at Wolves and, they finished 14th last season, 13th before that, 10th before that, 13th before that. They're virtually a bottom third team, top of the bottom third, and that's where I see them this season as well. Yes, they've lost a couple of big players, Max Kilman, of course, and Pedro Neto. Those are huge losses for Wolverhampton Wanderers, Lee, aren't they?
Big losses, and when your squad's not that strong to start with, when you lose a couple of your best players, it does take a little bit of recovery from it. But I think, like Gary O'Neill said, they've had a tough start, Arsenal and Chelsea. Their season is not based on, or won't be based on results with teams like Chelsea and Arsenal. They'll be looking at the Forests, the Southamptons, the Leicesters, and thinking if we can get 3 to 6 points against all these boys, then we're going to be okay. The last thing you need, though, for Gary O'Neill is to start getting drummed every week by the big boys, 5 and 6, and then to get confidence up to play the lesser teams is very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tricky one. Towards the tail end of last season as well, they faded away. They struggled. I think won in their last 8 games in the Premier League. Coming into the season, lost on opening day, lost again today. So it's now probably 1 victory in your last 10 or 11 Premier League matches. But purely from a contextual point of view, the real season begins next week for Wolverhampton, Gary.
Yeah, I think so. They need to get something against Nottingham Forest in the league next weekend. Simple as that. Now, if that's a draw, well, that's something. It's more than they got in their first 2 games. So there's a starting point for them. I hate that term, must not lose games type of thing. And they could get beaten by Nottingham Forest, and it's not going to define their season, but they need to start sooner rather than later putting some points on the board.